Welcome back, everybody. This is the last video, part 3 of Absolutism to Revolution, and we're focusing on the revolution part of it. What happens when things go bad for the kings and queens, when people revolt or have a revolution? Well, we talked last time about the Enlightenment, about how people start to get angry and upset with the kings and queens, how they start to think that the people are the ones who should have the power. In this picture, we see a group of French thinkers all together in a big room. These rooms were called salons, and this is where the people would meet and talk about how they wanted the government to be, how they wanted their lives to be. You can kind of think of them as secret clubhouses where like-minded people would get together to try to plan out how they wanted to run the government. Okay? That spread these ideas to the middle class. We said that during this time period, the middle class people, the business owners, they were learning to read and write. They were becoming more and more numerous, and these ideas spread like wildfire. People wanted better lives. The enlightened despots tried to attempt reforms to make these middle class people happy, and some ideas spread, but when the kings gave a little bit, the people just wanted more. So these ideas sweep through European society and across the Atlantic Ocean to colonial America. In America, the Enlightenment ideas, especially those from Locke, Rousseau, and others, were spreading to people like Thomas Jefferson, Ben Franklin, George Washington, coupled with the idea that the British king would not stop taxing the colonists. Just before the American Revolution, there was a fight called the French and Indian War. That's what we call it here in America. Over in England, they call it the 7 Years' War. But they had to send troops over to America to fight off the French, and they wanted to charge America taxes to help pay for that war after the fact. We didn't like that, especially because we weren't given a voice in their parliament. We got the great catchphrase, no taxation without representation, and people start fighting. We've watched plenty of Schoolhouse Rock videos. There's a great one about the battles in Lexington and Concord called The Shot Heard Round the World. Feel free to check that out, but we're going to keep moving. After the fights break out, the colonists declare independence with the Declaration of Independence on the 4th of July, 1776. They defeat the British after a few years of fighting and establish our first republic. Okay? Now, as time goes on, there are a couple important keywords that we're going to have to keep in mind. The first is conservatism, or someone who is a conservative is someone who wants to protect the traditions. And this time we're talking about traditional monarchies. These were usually the wealthy people who liked the way things were. They got rich under the current system, so they wanted to keep the current system so they could stay rich. In this French political cartoon, we see the aristocrats up above the table, and then below the table are the people who don't like the change. A liberal is somebody who believes in liberalism. They want to give more power to the people, more power to the elected parliaments, and in America, what we would call Congress. These are mostly middle-class business leaders and merchants who want more of a say in how their government's going to work. The next word that you got to know is radical. These are people who favor drastic change and want democracy to everybody. We're going to talk a lot about this in the French Revolution over the next couple of days. Radicals who want immediate change and are willing to chop off people's heads to get it. Another concept that we see as people start to get more control over their country, they start to get more pride in their country. We start to see something called nationalism, the belief that people's greatest loyalty should be to their country and to the people who share the common culture and history. Okay? We start to see more nation states develop. That's when a government starts to control itself and its own independence. Some nice things that happen because of nationalism is that people come together for the common good. Think of the different colonists, say down in Georgia, up in New York. They work together to fight off the British. They overthrow their colonial rule. They overthrow England, and they establish democratic governments in our country and across the world. They also have competition with each other, which spurs more scientific and technological advances. So competition leads to progress. Some negative results, as we can see from this cartoon here, nationalism's not always great. A lot of times they force people to fit in against those people's will. like when the colonists forced the Native Americans to be just like them. Or they tried to get rid of certain ethnicities, like when the American colonists tried to wipe out the Native Americans who live in the area, or when the Germans, wrapped up in nationalism, commit the atrocities of the Holocaust. We see some extreme national movements rise throughout history. It can also lead to competition, which then leads to warfare. When you think that you're the best country in the world and nobody can beat you, you're more likely to go to war. Okay? It happened all around the world. It happened in America, as you can see in this picture. It also happened in other places too. This is a picture of a Haitian slave rebellion that was taking place where France had once kept Haiti as a colony. The people rose up and fought off the French. We see a couple of gruesome scenes here in this picture. It also happened in places around South America, around the Caribbean, and they were led by different people. We're going to talk a little bit more about revolutions, especially the French and American, over the next couple of days, but this takes us to the end of our video and to the end of our notes. Please don't forget you need to work on the day in the life of Louis XIV, and you need to work on the Absolutism activity pack. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to email me, talk to me, and I will be happy to help. Have a great day. See you later.